Well, good day, viewers. I am Kamal Haynes. Well, welcome to another featured interview brought to you by 284 Media. Well, today I will be interviewing the Virgin Islands' very own Kyra James, who is a content producer for the Recording Academy, which is famous for its Grammy Awards, which was most recently held last weekend. Well, we will be speaking about Kyra's career journey, her experience at the recently concluded 65th Annual Grammy Awards, encouraging words that can be shared to motivate locals who are interested in a similar career path, and some of the plans she has in store for the rest of the year. We'll dive into all the details right after a word from our sponsors.
Catch Super Bowl 57 on CCT Live. Sign up today by calling 444-4444.
Welcome to the 103rd season of the NFL!
It's that time for the NFL playoffs every weekend with CCT Live, showing every game on CBS, NBC, ABC, and ESPN, including the Super Bowl. Sign up for CCT Live today.
There's no game like this game!
Well, welcome back, viewers. Well, as mentioned prior to the break, I have joining me virtually all the way from Los Angeles, United States of America, content producer for the Recording Academy, Kyra James. Well, welcome, Kyra.
Hi, I'm happy to be here. How are you?
I'm happy to have you here joining us. I really want to start this interview by first allowing you the chance to provide to the viewers, for those persons who are not aware of who you are, just to tell them a little bit about yourself and who is Kyra James.
Okay, my name is Kyra James. As mentioned before, I am a content producer. I recently started producing full time, but I've always been a producer in a way. I think a lot of the community know me from Kicking It with Kyra. And so before it was something I got paid to do, it was something that I did for fun. And so I'm just happy to be able to do what I love.
And as you said, you recently started that particular full-time career path as it relates to being a content producer. If memory serves me right, I believe that would have been from late last year. How has that been so far since pursuing this new career path?
Right. So this role at the Recording Academy, yes, I did start in November, and it was a pretty challenging time because Grammy noms had just been announced, and overall, it's a very intense time at the company. So I didn't really have a chance to dip my foot in. I feel like I was thrown in to the deep end, but it was really exciting overall, and I was super grateful for the experience.
And I want you to also just, for those persons, because, you know, when it comes to careers or opportunities that are oftentimes presented to students, you know, we don't usually see content producers being, you know, taught in schools, etc. So just walk us through that journey of how you would have gotten or stumbled upon that particular career path. And for those persons who are interested, you know, like how could they themselves get in tune with a similar career path of being a content producer?
Yes, that's so true. Career education is something that's very important to me because, I mean, I think this whole realm of social as a career, as a field, is still fairly new. Like, I don't think roles like this existed when I was in primary school. But marketing has always been an industry, as we know. Social is a fairly newer branch of that field, but there's always been PR, advertisement, basic marketing, stuff like that. And even those things that are as old as time weren't included in career fairs, in conversations around what you could do for a living. And so when I graduated high school, I wanted to become a nurse practitioner or something. I don't even remember. For job training, I spent summers like at the hospital or at Bougainvillea watching surgeries. And then when I went to college, I started off as a biology major. And it was during that time where I realized that I wasn't fulfilling my purpose, but I didn't know what it was. So I was at the University of the Virgin Islands, feeling very stuck, feeling very lost, which prompted me to do a lot of my own research into the degree offerings at the university. And when I saw communication, I was like, what's that? And when I did all this research on what you can do with this degree, I realized that a lot of it was very aligned with the things that I do all the time. I was at college coming up with these crazy video ideas, forcing my friends to make my concepts come to life. I spent my summers learning how to use iMovie, begging my mom to buy me new equipment. And so it was inside of me this whole time. I was literally doing it. But without that education, there was no way for me to put the two together. And so I really hope that young Virgin Islanders can see me and see that even if these career paths aren't being talked about in schools, that, hey, she from here and look at what she's doing. I could probably do that too. And so I just hope that as I continue on this path, that I can do that for the generations behind me.
Very interesting indeed, and obviously, as you would have been pursuing that particular career of content producer, but stumbling upon the Recording Academy, that is no small feat. I mean, that is one of the biggest organizations, and I'm sure a lot of responsibility would have been thrown upon you as it relates to your role in the Recording Academy and the Grammy Awards that would have just concluded. Speak upon stumbling upon that particular opportunity.
Right. So LinkedIn was how I got that job. I get that question a lot, like, how do you begin these cool opportunities, and were you able to work with this person and that person? And I try to encourage people to see themselves as being very capable. I got my start just creating on my own, which helped me learn a lot on like inaction, right? And so my biggest piece of advice is always, while you wait for a company to hire you, do what you can on your own, do what you can with your friends. And so that was really my foundation. And I was able to use that as proof of concept to the role that I had before this, and another media company, which ultimately gave me the experience that I needed to make a good impression on the Recording Academy team. And so just like anybody else, I saw an opening and put in a solid application, gave my best interview, and was offered the job. So not because you're from a small island mean that you can't apply for these jobs like anybody else. You just another application. And if you have the skills that they're looking for, you have a shot. So shoot your shot always.
Okay, great. And we do know, of course, the 65th Annual Grammy Awards had the likes of Beyonce, Jay-Z, Adele, Lizzo, Cardi B, Lil Wayne, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, and the list goes on and on. But of course, repping the Virgin Islands, aside from yourself, was Rock City's very own Tyrone Thomas, who would have won a Grammy for his songwriting work on Lizzo's About Damn Time, which was for the Record of the Year. We also saw his Virgin Islander, his fellow Virgin Islander, Masai Harris, capturing his Golden Statue for production work for Kabaka Pyramid's Reggae Album of the Year, The Calling. So I want you to speak on what such representation at the Grammys for small islands and territories such as the Virgin Islands means to you, and of course that of the wider USVI BVI society.
Right. Like I said before, I think you, when you see people doing these things, you believe that you could do it too. And I think being on a small island so far away from the mainland, we have to experience these things through TV. You have to watch other people do it. And I think oftentimes you don't even believe that that could be you one day, that you could be in the room watching live, like I was, because there's this like mental barrier. And so seeing people do it who from the same couple square miles as you, I think now breaks down that mental barrier. And you're like, oh my God, Kyra left from the Grammys. T1 just win record of the year. If they could do it, I could do it too. And one of my goals, because I'm still at the very beginning of my journey in entertainment, in content production, in social. And one of my personal goals is really to increase Caribbean and by extension Virgin Islands representation in all the things that I create, because the same way it's important for little Black girls and boys to see themselves on TV. We have another layer, right? Because we're not just Black, but we're also Caribbean and we also VI. And so every layer gets closer and closer to home. And so the more representation we can see that's closer to who we are, the more empowered we feel to go after anything we desire.
And I also want you to speak about your first experience at the Grammy Awards. I mean, speak about the role you played directly on the night, just to give somewhat of an insight to those persons who are wondering, because I'm sure that there was some media circulating across the territory with you, obviously doing your job. And a lot of people in the territory were extremely proud to see you there representing the BVI from abroad.
Yeah, so the Recording Academy is huge, and we have a lot of different affiliates, and so the Grammys is just one of them. So Grammy Week, every single day that week, there is an event associated with another affiliation of the company, whether it's advocacy, Grammy U, Music Cares, Black Music Collective, and so I am the lead producer on the Music Cares team, and our event was this huge gala the Friday that honored legends Berry Gordy and Smokey Robinson. And so that clip of me on the red carpet interviewing Chloe and Halle was at that event. And then I also attended the Black Music Collective event that was on a Thursday. So that is a department that I'm lead producer in, and thankfully, I was able to just enjoy the show on Sunday because my work was complete earlier that week. So I was super happy to be able to carry my brother, who, funny enough, I told several years ago, if I ever make it to the Grammys, I'm going to carry you. And so it was such a wonderful full circle moment to be able to sit in the crowd and enjoy that moment with him and watch Beyonce make history and see so many of our faves in person.
My next question, of course, would be, what was your most enjoyable moment on the night of the Grammy?
It was definitely watching Beyonce make history. I'm a huge Beyonce fan, of course. I mean, why wouldn't anyone be a Beyonce fan? I think we were both really looking forward to seeing her make history that night. And the moment it happened, everyone stood up immediately. And so it was like goosebumps. You couldn't stop screaming, you couldn't stop clapping to see this Black woman who has worked so hard get the accolades she deserves. So that was definitely the highlight, along with seeing all the performances. And as a producer, watching the parts you don't get to see on TV, the sections of the stage moving, how they handle all of that. I think seeing it from inside the room and taking mental notes as a producer myself was really interesting as I apply those things into producing my own events one day locally. It was cool to see that too.
And my next question, basically, somewhat of a follow-up question, but obviously, you would have spoke about the height of what was your most enjoyable moment? I know, of course, prior to the actual night and prior to the week, of course, there were a few expectations. Did the actual weekend, the night of the Grammys, exceed those particular expectations? And how did you cope being around so many celebrities that I'm sure for years and years upon years you would have been such a big fan of? How did you cope with that on the night?
Right. I think I was working a lot of the week, so like I said, I'm glad I was able to experience Sunday just as an attendee because all Recording Academy staff get complimentary tickets to the show. So the other events where I was actually working, you kind of have to switch certain parts of you, right? Like I can't approach people as Kyra the fan. I'm at work, so there's a certain level of professionalism that comes with that. And so you're really happy, but of course you have to keep it professional. I'm huge fan of Chloe and Halle. And so getting to interview them, getting to interview legends like Smokey Robinson, getting to meet Stevie Wonder is definitely super exciting. But I can't just be, oh my God, can I get a picture? I can't be like that. I have to be professional. So that's really what the experience is like. And thankfully, in my role before this, I got a chance to interview a few celebrities too. So the Recording Academy wasn't my first experience. And so I already kind of knew the ropes on like how to approach things.
Okay, excellent. And that is some solid advice you actually gave in terms of switching the roles and knowing when and where. I want to move on to, encouraging words that you can share to those Virgin Islanders, those young people across the territory who are looking up to you and want to pursue a similar road. What advice would you give them?
My advice would be very similar to, things I've said earlier. Don't limit what you think is possible. Honor your natural abilities for sure. I probably would have been somewhere very depressed and unhappy if I forced myself to do what I thought was success in the eyes of my community. At the time when I did change my major, when I did recognize that I wanted something different, I literally had older people tell me I would regret changing my major, or like, what is that? That I won't make much money, all these different things. I think there's still a lot of stigma attached to pursuing creative careers, and none of that is true. There's money out there to be made. There are opportunities out there. You will not starve. You will not go broke. And once you honoring yourself, being true to yourself, and aligning yourself with the tools you wake up with every day, like, you can't lose. You really can't lose. And you have those talents for a reason. Put them to work. Create on your own. Reach out to the people around you, see how you could create. If you see a local business or a local content creator that could benefit from your skills, offer them, because all of that is proof of concept. You really just need to be able to show that you're good, because being good isn't enough if you don't have proof. And that was one of the big things I had to learn. Like, I knew I was good at all these things. Like, somebody please give me an opportunity. But I had to take the time to do it on my own so I could show people what I could do. And then they see that I'm worth adding to the team, or worth being paid X amount of $1,000 a year, So start where you are. It would be my biggest piece of advice.
And of course, you are a living proof or a living testimony of believing in your dream and staying true to yourself. And you are obviously seeing that reward. Finally, I want you to touch on some of the plans that you have in store for the rest of the year 2023 as it pertains to your career and some of your personal goals, etc. you have set out to achieve this year.
That's a good question. I just want to continue to create. I feel like this year I'm the most aligned I've ever been with the exact like lane I want to be in. I think when you're on your way up, you just kind of like take any opportunity to be able to work, to be able to make money, to be able to show what you can do. And so I've worked with beauty brands, I've worked with all kind of industry, tourism, construction, but I see now what I want my personal brand to be, and it's definitely in media entertainment. And I think when you hone in on a lane, it's easy for people to associate you with that industry, you know? And so if I want to be top of mind when somebody thinks of somebody who would be a good fit for something in the industry that I want to be in, I have to be intentional about the projects that I take on, about the things that I attract, so that I continue to build a stronger presence in that lane. And so I think that's just one of my biggest goals this year. I have no idea who those clients will be, what those projects would look like, where I will go. But I think now that I know that, hey, this is what's aligned, here's what's not, I feel really confident that they're going to be cool, they're going to be awesome, they're going to be a great fit for me. And it just feels really amazing to feel that confident and strong about the trajectory of your career.
Okay, sounds really good. A lot of plans for 2023. Any final words you would like to leave for the listening audience of the BVI and the wider region?
We are capable. If you familiar with Kicking It, you know I've always been a big advocate for local creatives. I created Kicking It because I noticed if you wasn't an athlete, if you wasn't, in STEM or something, creative people doing amazing things weren't being highlighted. And so I am a lot busier now and it's harder for me to keep things like that going. But I am trying to build a team, trying to get the resources from local business owners and organizations to keep things like that going, because I will never, ever stop being the biggest cheerleader for Virgin Islands creatives. And so not only do I want to be an inspiration, I want to be a resource. So if anybody has any questions for me, reach out. If there's anywhere I can use Kicking It to be a source of light for Virgin Islands creatives, I'm totally interested in doing that. And I would love for companies who would enjoy doing that too to align with us as we continue to build resources that get more creatives into positions like this. So definitely not forgetting my local community who I love so much. And in the midst of all of this, I am still thinking of how to create opportunities for people at home.
Thank you, Kyra, for your time. I really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to accommodate us here at 284 Media. Really appreciative of it, and I do wish you all the success for the rest of 2023 and beyond.
Thank you so much.
Okay, viewers, until next time, I am Kamal Haynes. I hope you enjoyed the content. Bye-bye.